What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So it's like 6 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. I'm like being super hard on myself to wake up early every day of the week. Now for work, I'm always up at 4 o'clock in the morning, Monday through Friday, but I want to get into the habit of trying to at least get up somewhat early on the weekends. Now obviously you guys know lots of hydration goes on during the weekends, but that's beside the point. You learn to control yourself, because honestly my channel's growth depends on me utilizing the best of my time. First off, I wanted to reach out to you guys and say thank you for the support on the channel. We hit 3,100 subs. I hope you guys enjoyed the kind of longer videos, the past 2 uploads, and kind of like getting your heads in gear for the whole Camaro project. You know, a lot of big things are going to happen, not necessarily over a certain time frame, but a lot of things are going to happen with that car. Not over like a year's time, but you know, within the next year, a lot will change on that car, and I want you guys to be very much a part of that build. Obviously, using your guys' color recommendations and stuff like that is going to help out big time, but enjoy the freaking intro. Yeah, look at that LB7 smoke, baby. Because it's freaking America Day, that's why. We're going to go over the 5 things that I hate about my JK 4-door Wrangler. Now, before we get into the video, I wanted to inform you guys who are new to the channel that this is a 2008 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited X. I bought it with 60,000 miles. It currently has 80,856, and we bought it literally a year ago yesterday. So over its time, basically in a year, we have transformed this Jeep a lot. There is a video of me completely transforming my Jeep in 11 minutes. It is lifted 2.5 inches on a rough country lift. It is on 35s. It's on a 17x9 steel wheel. Truthfully, I like the look of this Jeep. I like the off-road bumpers that we got. I love the I love the freaking headlights that we got. My wife does have the Gladiator Vader grill on the Jeep, which I know a lot of people have a tendency of hating, but everybody has their own personal preference. This is my wife's Jeep. I bought this Jeep and built this Jeep specifically for my wife. So let's get into the details of the top 5 things that I hate about this damn thing. Okay, so some of these things are going to be cosmetic and just random things that everybody knows about Jeeps, but I'm just going to point out some obvious flaws with mine. Coming in at number 5 on the list is my lack there of having center caps. Now obviously these center caps are really cheap. I just need to order some. When I bought these wheels, they did not have the center cap. For those of you that watched kind of the process of this build, I bought the wheel and tire setup with the tires that are actually on the front of the Jeep for 200 bucks. I replaced these back tires, and this is kind of where it kind of coincides together. It was $700 for 2 tires, for the 2 General Grabber ATXs that are on the back. Obviously, these are not ATXs up front. These are the General Grabber AT2s. So we need to get the fronts replaced. So the overall price of tires is something that you got to keep in mind. Now, like I said, we are running 35 by 12.5. You know that when you're going to get into the game of lifting Jeeps and when you're going to start modifying them, that tires aren't cheap. So doing burnouts, not that you would really do burnouts in your Jeep, but there are people that try to do it. But tires are an expensive cost. Number 2 on this list is something that I've been battling with this thing for a freaking while, and that is the damn fender flares. Now, we bought these fender flares. They are not the actual bushwhackers. They are kind of like the eBay $250 fender flares, and the fitment was piss poor. If you guys can actually see, there's a zip tie holding this in. None of the holes inside here, for the most part, mocked up in the brackets. So I have to take all the flares back off. We're going to get the actual bushwhacker fender flares where the fitment is good. And truthfully, that's one of those things that you just don't go cheap on. And it's very obvious to me that these are cheap fender flares. The fitment was piss poor. And that's something that I look at every single day with this Jeep, and it drives me absolutely freaking nuts. Coming in at number 3 on the list is the notorious wobble. So I'm gonna show you guys here in a second. As we're doing between 40 and 50, we have this like crazy wobble, and I want to put dual stabilizers up front, and there's a couple things that I want to do. Yes, the Jeep is aligned. It was aligned less than 2 weeks ago. It's got this death wobble. The tires are not cupped. And yeah, it's all over the forums that it's notorious once you are lifted that you start getting a wobble that you just got to figure out and try to control it. So we are going to eventually find where our problem is coming from and fix it. All right, so as we are getting up to speed, you guys can already tell it's starting to get shaky. I am in 4th gear right now at 1500 RPMs. Yes, that's low if you want to call it low. But as we get higher, let's just kind of get over this hill real quick. You can kind of hear it. Look at my shifter. It's just gonna start going bonkers! Now the fourth thing that I love / hate about this Jeep is the color. Okay, so have you ever like bought a vehicle, or you were looking at a vehicle and you're like, wow, that color's different, or you don't see it a whole lot, and then all of a sudden you buy it and you're like, dude, it's freaking everywhere. That was us with this color. Now obviously my truck is maroon. That was not intended by any means at all. But one of the biggest things that like drove me nuts with this Jeep was everybody compared this Jeep to Street Speed's Jeep because we were doing our build at pretty much the same time. Now, his is an 07, mine is an 08. That brought a lot of negativity to my channel. So that was something that was, you know, kind of annoying and kind of terrible out the gate. I love the color of this Jeep. Don't get me wrong, I do. There are some flaws, and that is Chrysler's paint products, their clear coat are ass. So our hood, we do have a couple spots that are like, you can see the clear coats coming off. I'm going to show you guys here in a second where one of the hinge paint, like the paint on the hinge, is like completely off. So I got to get that repainted and replaced. This actually happened like a week and a half ago when we went to the beach, and it's just really this bottom one. You can actually see the whole thing's like bubbly, the whole bracket's like kind of just that, and then up here it's perfectly fine. Now as we go around the Jeep, there's a couple other spots that have a little bit of paint imperfection. On this side, this bottom bracket is okay, but the actual side of this is starting to do the same exact thing. Same with the one up top here. Now both of these are fine, but the one on the opposite side was bubbling. And the Jeep is a little bit dirty, so it's gonna be kind of hard to see. Like down here, a lot of this is actually faded. There's actually like completely spots where it's just completely down to nothing. And for a Jeep with 80,000 miles, you would think after 10 years it would still look somewhat decent. But yeah, I get like over time clear coat wears down and stuff like that. But my mom's 2004 Chrysler minivan thing looks like it was sunburnt and it's been peeling for the past 3 months. Now the top thing that I hate about this Jeep is actually up front. And I think that you guys could actually expect that this was going to be the biggest thing that I would hate about this thing, and that is that it is a 3.8. Now we looked high and low in our price range. I wanted to stay in like the lower 20s when we bought this Jeep, so we ended up picking this up for 21 with 60,000 miles. Let's get this up. But unfortunately, it does have the 3.8. Now the 3.8, this one in particular doesn't eat a lot of oil. You can tell that it does eat some oil, but not a crazy amount. I think it does kind of lack a little bit in the power department, especially now that we have 35s. We definitely need to re-gear. 6th gear is kind of non-existent at this point, and definitely something that we teetered around the idea, kind of kicked ourselves in the ass, because we could have got a 3.6, but the problem is the prices of manual Jeeps are elevated, and we could have got like a 2013 with similar miles that was auto for literally the same price. But we wanted the 6-speed manual, so that was kind of like the price that we paid to get this. And you know, it was something that I don't regret, but in the same token, it's like I wish we had that extra little bit of power. A lot of people are commenting and saying, you know, why don't you just tune it? I don't know. It's just, at the end of the day, it's a Jeep. I'd rather re-gear than tune, but it definitely does lack in the power department, and the 3.8s are known for having a little bit of problems. So if this was your first time watching a video on my channel, I hope you guys liked the video of the Jeep. There's a lot of stuff that we still need to work on, get done. I mean, for what we did, basically expect that this was going to be the biggest thing that I would hate about this thing, and that is that it is a 3.8. Now, we looked high and low in our price range. I wanted to stay in like the lower 20s when we bought this Jeep, so we ended up picking this up for 21 with 60,000 miles. Let's get this up. But unfortunately, it does have the 3.8. Now the 3.8, this one in particular doesn't eat a lot of oil. You can tell that it does eat some oil, but not a crazy amount. I think it does kind of lack a little bit in the power department, especially now that we have 35s. We definitely need to re-gear. Sixth gear is kind of non-existent at this point, and definitely something that we teetered around the idea, kind of kicked ourselves in the ass, because we could have got a 3.6, but the problem is the prices of manual Jeeps are elevated, and we could have got like a 2013 with similar miles that was auto for literally the same price. But we wanted the 6-speed manual, so that was kind of like the price that we paid to get this. And you know, it was something that I don't regret, but in the same token, it's like I wish we had that extra little bit of power. A lot of people are commenting and saying, you know, why don't you just tune it? I don't know. It's just, at the end of the day,